So we're going to go ahead and welcome to part 2 of Find Your Song, Sing Your Song, and Live Your Song. We have had some interesting technical difficulties this morning. So we have got the first video is already processing, and this will be part 2. So Lou, we had been having a great discussion here, and we talked about some good things. There's one other thing, and it's not on this particular version of the PowerPoint, but that's all right because I'm going to add it. So there's one other question that we often ask folks when we're working with them on this whole concept of living your song, developing a social enterprise. And even though it's not on the PowerPoint, it's worth mentioning. Is there something out here that you see that makes you really mad or really sad? And the reason we ask that question is because a lot of times something that causes you to have a strong emotional response is directly tied to a purpose or a passion for you. So again, off the top of your head, my dear, anything come to your mind?
That makes me really sad or really mad?
Correct.
You're talking on my personal life?
Yeah. I mean, just in general, something that just really, and not that you're mad at a person or something like that, but just what you see going on in the world around us. Because you remember, we kind of started this whole class talking about, the world's in kind of a state of chaos out here.
Well, the thing that makes me really mad is that some of the I don't guess they're programs, but they're supposed to be um, uh, sources of help, particularly for the addicts,
Mm-hmm.
and on the other, my other area of interest, which is the uh, recently released from prison, the prison population,
Mm-hmm.
is that it seems like the background of um, belief of the people that are supposed to be trying to help is that people resist change. In
Mm-hmm.
other words, like, somebody that was an addict
Mm-hmm.
is gonna revert to being an addict. So you're not gonna you're gonna lend them a hand, but it comes conditioned.
Wow.
So we end up what do you call that? Reinforcing
Mm-hmm.
their belief that it's not worth it and that they're gonna go back.
Wow. So you see that in the system at this point in time.
Yes, I
Wow.
definitely do.
Wow. And of course, I can imagine where that comes from because I'm quite sure there are a lot of people that do fairly quickly and easily revert back. But for them to not be enforcing the idea that it doesn't have to be that way, that we have the power to change, that's sad. That would make me sad and kind of mad as well. There's no doubt about that. So there you go. So you've got a story that's brewing here, and part of it is about what you see in the system that is not working. And that's my whole belief about social entrepreneurship is that we need to be out here building a system outside of the system, quite honestly, because the system is broken. There are so many things in it that are broken. And I happen to like a gentleman who has some great quotes out there. His name was Buckminster Fuller. I don't believe he's with us anymore. But one of his quotes was something to the effect of, there comes a time when it does not make sense to keep trying to fix a broken system. Instead, we need to create new systems that make the old ones obsolete. So
That's
just
right.
that's where I come from with all of this. So that's good to hear. That's good to know. And so you know, a lot of people in this process will say, but I already know what I want to do. And, you know, you may or may not currently have an idea for what you want to do and who you want to help. But it's really important that you take a look back at your life to see if you have any emotional hot spots, as I call them, that your heart, your soul, your subconscious mind may be asking you to review. Because here's what I have seen, and this is happening big time in the professional unemployed community, and they don't even understand this is happening to them. But in ignoring an important part of your passion could block your ability to produce cash flow. This is happening to people all over the place. And basically, if I have to boil it down in terms of what I'm really talking about, is that people are being called. They're being called to do what they were put here to do. And this is happening to a lot of folks who have been long-term corporate America, and they don't understand because they become disconnected. I had somebody tell me recently that they thought too many people have ended up becoming, their head and their heart have become disconnected. And so they've lost touch with what's in their heart and what's going on there. And so it's like when they're being called to get that reconnected, it's like the income just stops. Nothing comes to them until they start to pay attention to what's going on in this part of their life. So that's why we ask all of these questions and ask people to seriously consider an answer to all four of them to see, you know, is there something here that I'm being called to right now that if I'm not paying attention, it may be much harder for me to produce income. Make sense?
Yes, it does.
So, and it's funny because I see it all the time with the folks that I'm working with. If they'll listen to me and if they will seriously consider these things, some of them who have been unemployed for 12 months, 18 months or longer, they all of a sudden, boom, a few weeks later, they're in a job. So it's just amazing how quick things can happen when you get, I guess a good term is, into alignment with, you know, this part of yourself that's been forgotten, whether it's your heart, your soul, or however you want to view it, or, you know, your subconscious mind. They're all connected in my mind. So, you know, that's an important component for people to understand. And another piece that I like to throw in here, because a lot of the folks I work with are really big on the idea that they need to create a nonprofit. And so what I'm trying to help people understand is I have met so many people out here who have started nonprofits, you know, the official 501c3, and they've never gotten anywhere with it. They spend 500, 800, you know, a huge chunk of change goes to the IRS to be able to get approved to have this nonprofit entity. First thing a lot of people don't realize is the government owns it.
Yes.
I did not even realize that until a few months ago when an attorney friend of mine told me that. And I was like, oh my word, that just doesn't make me excited at all.
Yeah.
So, you know, they own it. They get to decide a whole lot of things about it. And I'm already, you know, kind of in that space of feeling like there's a lot of broken systems in the government. I think this happens to be one of those that's kind of teetering on the edge where it could completely collapse. So, I try to help people understand there's other different types of businesses that can be created. It does not have to be a nonprofit. There are so many, and it is so difficult for a new nonprofit to get off the ground. It's very difficult to find grant funding for a new nonprofit. It's oftentimes even difficult to get a nonprofit to partner with you if you've got the same passion they do. Everybody gets very competitive and they get very scared about, oh, but this is my funding and I need it for this, and I'm afraid you're going to try to take some of it. I mean, there's so many things I've seen in the nonprofit arena that just make me nervous. So there's three things that I advocate out here. One is that I encourage nonprofits to look at a new model for self-sustainability, which is to consider adding earned income streams. It's not as crazy as it sounds. The Girl Scouts sell cookies. The Boy Scouts sell popcorn. It's really about having products or services for sale that help to sustain you to do your community-based work. And I know for a nonprofit, it's sometimes a little bit tough because, they get scared that the IRS isn't going to approve an income stream, and there is something called unrelated business income that they could actually end up getting taxed on. But I have heard some executive directors say, well, maybe it's worth it to pay tax on an earned income stream if it helps us to keep our doors open. So that is something that I encourage people to at least understand as an option for helping with the funding of a traditional nonprofit. There's also the concept of a nonprofit for-profit hybrid. And that actually used to be done by Ben & Jerry's. My husband and I used to live a block from the very first Ben & Jerry's ice cream store up in Burlington, Vermont. It was in a little renovated gas station. And we loved what they did because they were very community focused. And so in their later years, before they sold out to Unilever, they actually had something called partner shops. And partner shops, they basically would set up a nonprofit to own their own Ben & Jerry's franchise. And they could send clients from their nonprofit to work in the franchise. And then the franchise, the profit from the franchise, was able to go into the nonprofit to keep it funded. That has got to become more of what nonprofits do. They've got to have that additional piece of the puzzle. And the third piece is called, and most people are still unfamiliar with this, there's something out here called a B corporation or a benefit corporation. This is an official, certified social enterprise. My husband and I have not gone down that path of trying to get certified, but we certainly could. The main difference between a B corporation and a traditional corporation is that it has a triple bottom line. So whereas a traditional corporation, the bottom line is profit, in a B corporation, you have triple bottom line. It's about people, it's about planet, and it's about profit. So you have 3 P's in a B corporation. North Carolina does not recognize a B corporation as a specific type of corporation. So you can't go to the Secretary of State's office and say, I want to be a B Corp. They'll say, we don't do that. But you can become an LLC, you can become an S Corp, you can become a C Corp, and then you can go to a certification company and ask to become certified as a B Corp. So we do have quite a few B Corps in the Triangle area. In fact, I think there's even an association for them now. So there are a number of companies who are moving in that direction. So that's another way that people can become a social enterprise. And so we like to make sure people know there are options other than just going out here and making the IRS rich by giving them a bunch of money to set up your nonprofit, and then you're never able to get any grants.
Okay, when you're talking about a nonprofit and for profit, oh, I'm a little bit confused. I know that the nonprofit is their bottom line is service, so a certain percentage of their income has to be converted to service, or how
They
does
have
that
to
work?
get income somehow from somewhere. If
Yes.
they can't get it from grants, I sat with an executive director here in Raleigh several years ago, and she was very well known. The organization was very well known. She says we have to either raise the money or earn the money. Because the fact of the matter is, a nonprofit is a business, and most of them don't think like they are, or don't want to admit they are, because somebody has told them that business is evil. And so, they have to have this whole special rules and such as a nonprofit so that people don't think they're out here just for the money. I mean, that's what it oftentimes comes down to. But it doesn't matter whether they raise it through grants and donations or whether they take money off the profit of selling a product or service. It still goes for the same thing. That's just like, when I ask people to pay to take this class, I'm a social enterprise. I take some of that money that comes in and I put it into my community development division. In fact, us, Triangle Solutions Alliance, is actually a very good model to talk about because we are an S Corp. We are a for-profit S Corp. But we created a division through Wake County called We Care Partnerships Network. And so that is our community development division. So it doesn't matter what service or what product, I can sell Legal Shield, I can sell Longevity, I can sell iClub Biz, I can sell this class, I can sell a coaching program. It doesn't matter what I sell through Triangle Solutions Alliance. I have the option then to take some of that money and transfer it into our DBA, our Doing Business As, of We Care Partnerships Network. And that's what I do. That money now can be used to invest in one of our apprentices. If I wanted to pay the $99 fee for somebody to join Legal Shield, I can pay it out of that. If I wanted to use that money to pay an instructor to come in and teach, like I'm trying to bring in wellness professionals as part of our apprenticeship programs, because I need them to be involved in helping these people get to a higher level of wellness. So I can take money out of We Care Partnerships and pay them to be a teacher in one of our apprenticeship programs. So all of that, just like with a nonprofit, because I'm transferring that money into our DBA, which is our community development division, and then I'm writing checks out of that, whatever I'm spending on those things, I am able to write that off. It's a legitimate business expense. I'm paying for a teacher. I'm paying to help somebody start a business. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense.
Okay. So that's what we're trying to help people see is we're being the model for a social enterprise. And it's not that difficult. It can be done. And there are some foundations and such out there right now that are willing to allow people to get involved in grants and such. But when you're a startup, people don't want to give you grant money. They want to see something that's tried and true and already has a track record. And so that becomes the other difficulty. Even if you are, you know, absolutely insistent you've got to become a 501c3, great. But it's extremely difficult to get off the ground and show your track record. You either have got to donate a bunch of your time, which is basically what Don and I have done. Donate a bunch of your time until you can get some data and some, you know, experiences that you can talk about. Or you just immediately need to engage in selling some kind of product or service, then be able to take some of that money to be able to put into service in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and I am going through, and again, when you can take a look at this recording, you'll see some of this in a little more clarity in my PowerPoint presentation. So I have a slide here that it says the self-sustaining social enterprise, and that's basically what I'm doing. So on one side of the page, it says social enterprise providing service, and, you know, clients that we engage with can go to work by working with our mentors and learning sales and marketing of various products and services. And if they're helping our mentors to make sales, then they need to get paid something. They can be paid a commission from our mentors. You know, if somebody trained with us in Legal Shield, and, you know, they may not be an associate, but if they got really good at talking about Legal Shield and we could hand them to somebody and let them explain the program and they made a sale, I'd split my commission with them in a heartbeat.
Yes.
So, you know, and then they'd have a choice. I could pay them that commission, or I could put their commission towards paying their associate fee. So that's where you were talking about earlier about people becoming part of your team, right?
Yes.
So we have those options, and those are the kinds of things that I just, I like for people to talk about. And let's see, so let's keep on trucking. My son's been trying to reach me here, so it's like, oh no. All right, yeah, and I'm not sure this is 100% the same. This is probably not the same PowerPoint that's on my other computer, but I think I can still kind of talk through it and help people to be able to understand. Yeah, I had put different things in here. Okay. Yep. So yeah, unfortunately, see, you're not even going to miss out on a whole lot because this is not the same PowerPoint. But that's okay. Because, you know, in the training when I'm working with folks, I'm teaching them a stepping stone process. I'm teaching them to take a step at a time and to go forward with starting to build their vision. And what's not in this PowerPoint that I'm going to have to basically talk through here, unfortunately, is, you know, the first part is finding your song, and that's what we just talked about. We talked about the whole concept of finding your song and being able to start to think about what that is and what you want to do out here. In singing your song, that's where we help our work study folks to be able to start to communicate about it. So if I was to use you as an example right now, Lourdes, is, you know, you've got a story. And you could decide that perhaps you want to build your own social enterprise. And I'm not saying you have to, I'm just saying you could, based on the fact that you've got this story with your daughter, you've got the background in law enforcement, you've got now more and more experience with the resources and, you know, what you're working with in terms of resources for helping your daughter. So you could decide to create a social enterprise. And you've already got Legal Shield. You could decide to add other products to it, but you could take your Legal Shield, and instead of just going out here trying to sell Legal Shield, you could be communicating your purpose, your passion. We could help you, and this is part of what we do with our work study folks, is we help them to create just a 2 to 3 minute video that's talking about their passion and their purpose. So for you, you could record just a 2 to 3 minute video where you're saying, hey, my name's Lourdes Mendez, and my story is all about this, and talking about your law enforcement background, how you were trained to spot problems with substance abuse and all these kinds of things, and yet, oh my goodness, when it happened in your own family, you didn't see it, you didn't recognize it. And so now, your mission very well could be to be out here helping other families who are going through substance abuse. And so your fundraising tool that can help you to do that is called Legal Shield. And so that becomes your fundraising tool. And as you sell Legal Shield memberships, that helps to put money in your pocket that now you can turn around and have a little more freedom to be able to go out here and speak to families, go out here and work with families and share your knowledge and teach them about what you've learned and help them to have hope.
Yes.
So now, but now you're talking about a cause. You're talking about a social enterprise, a business you're building, and you can have a variety of fundraising tools. That's why we like to have fundraising tools that are all about health, wealth, and peace, because then we have choices for people. But, just starting with Legal Shield, that peace of mind stuff is really good, and especially if a family needs legal advice because they're dealing with all this kind of stuff, that's a perfect fundraising tool for where you are. Not to mention that identity theft is a biggie too. And if somebody doesn't have identity theft protection, oh my goodness, all of those things are fundraising tools that can give you more freedom to go out here and help families who are dealing with substance abuse. So that's what I mean by a social enterprise. That makes sense?
Yes, it makes perfect sense.
Okay. And so if you create a little video, just 2 or 3 minute video explaining that this is your cause, this is your mission, and that you're looking for other people who have a similar cause and mission. If you find other people who have a similar cause and mission, we invite them through a web page. This is part of what we're developing for our folks, and we're going to get into this in more detail in next week's class. But what we're doing is setting them up with a web page that they can put that video on and be able to promote the web page. And basically what we say to people is, hey, if you have a similar passion as I do, if you're interested in helping families cope with substance abuse, helping them to be able to help their loved ones to come through this, then please consider becoming part of my fundraising team. And our fundraising tool is Legal Shield, and it helps families to deal with the trauma that they're going through. So it's a different way of talking about products and services. It's based on your cause. But the one thing I can tell you is that if you start finding people to join your Legal Shield team who have a similar cause as you do, they're not going to drop out. Because you become tied together with that common passion and purpose. That's the kind of teams we want, right?
Yes, yes.
I mean, it's actually quite amazing. The main reason that Don and I have residual income from Legal Shield is because we still have a lot of members who were our original consultants in Triangle Solutions Alliance. We were all tied together with a common passion and purpose for being consultants. And most of them have held on to Legal Shield for 18 years.
Yes.
So that's a huge part of this. And so that's, once you find your song, be able to sing your song, be able to communicate it, be able to tell people what you're all about and why these things are important to you. And that's a key component, because you're going to attract the right people. You will attract the people with the same heart, the same challenges, that want to be involved in helping you while you're helping them. So that's basically the sing your song part. And then the live your song part is really getting people engaged with a service they can provide, a product they can sell, and if there is a knowledge product that they need to create. Most people should be teaching other people based on their experiences. I heard somebody call it a life PhD recently, because to me, you don't have to be a PhD to be an instructor. You've got life experiences. You have a life PhD. And whatever those experiences are, there are people out here who can learn from you. There are people out here who need the knowledge and the wisdom that you can provide. And you used to be a teacher. You loved teaching
Yes.
people, didn't you?
Yes, I did. And that's the thing. It's much, you get much more validation if you're teaching a subject that you have experienced.
Yes. Yes.
You can learn it through book knowledge, but until you've done it, you will not get the credibility. You will not get the examples and the living experience
Right.
to give you credibility.
That is absolutely true. And, people can tell, when you're teaching people, they feel it. They feel what you've been through. And they will
Yeah.
listen to you a whole lot more based on what you've been through versus what you just tell them. So, that's a saying a friend of mine gave to me many years ago. And he said, everybody can hear somebody, but not everybody can hear the same somebody. So you and I know our kids probably don't listen to us much, but
Amen.
but when we go out here and we talk to people in the community who have been through the same thing we go through, they can feel it. They know that you're being honest and that you have integrity, and they listen. They absolutely do listen differently. So
Yes.
so yes, I mean, these are the things that are important. And so we try to help everybody understand. You probably got a story to tell. Anybody can go to, actually, I think the link is different now, but if you go to createspace.com, which is owned by Amazon, it'll take you now to, I think it's called Kindle Direct Publishing. But anybody can write their own story and upload it into Kindle Direct Publishing and be able to hit a publish button and be able to publish their own book for free.
Wow.
And most of the world doesn't know that. And even somebody who may have a hard time with writing or whatever, our smartphones, you can speak a book into existence by recording it. And if you need to get help from somebody to take that recording and transcribe it, well, okay, let's figure out how to get that done. Because if you can speak it and somebody can transcribe it and upload it, and all of a sudden you have a book on Amazon, you just became an entrepreneur. You have the ability to sell those books. And the beautiful thing about that is you don't even have to carry any inventory unless you want to. Because once it's on Amazon and you can point people to the link where they can purchase your book on Amazon, and it could just be an ebook, doesn't even have to be a paperback. Amazon allows you to do both. You can do both an ebook and a paperback and be able to jump in and see what's going on as people are buying. And basically, Amazon, once people buy, If they buy a paperback online, it gets shipped direct to them, and you just get the commission.
Wow. Makes a world of difference.
It does. And this is why it's so important also for us to teach in these challenged communities about the internet. Because the internet can level the playing field, but nobody's teaching them how to do it.
Well, I can tell you, nobody has been teaching me. I mean, it's like, to me, the internet is like magic. And what scares me about magic is that there's trickery involved, and I'm more concerned about the trickery than I'm about the magic, you know?
Well, and that's why I don't think I'd feel as comfortable being as far out on the internet as I am if I didn't have identity theft protection. Because, yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there, but, it doesn't matter where you look in the world. Almost anything can be looked at as used for good or used for evil. I mean, the Bible says the love of money is evil. And so, but money itself is not evil.
Right.
The money itself is inherently, it just is. It's something.
A tool.
It's a tool, exactly. But
it's not a value, it's a tool.
Exactly. But there's a lot of people out here who love money and use people to get it, and that is evil.
Yeah.
So the internet's the same thing. We know there's a dark web. We know there's all kinds of horrible, horrible things going on the internet, and we can worry about that. We can choose to focus there. Pornography is all over it. We know these things are there. But if we choose to focus on the positive side of what the internet has to offer, there's no reason we shouldn't be utilizing it for the good that it can do, because it can connect us to people who think like us. It can connect us to our tribe of people that we need to serve. It can connect us, just today, right here, even though the technology wanted to give me all kinds of headaches this morning. We kept going. We figured it out. We got around the challenges. And, this recording will be available on YouTube for our other person who wasn't able to make it this morning. And he had some technical difficulties too.
Yeah.
And, it's like, okay, but I can record it and I can put it on YouTube and I can make it available to him. So that's the beauty. And that's where we have to stay focused, is to just realize that everything is a two-sided coin. It just is. And the fact that anybody can become an author now, we need to take advantage of that.
Yes.
Anybody can become a teacher, because anybody can use Zoom for free. Right now, this particular version of Zoom, because there's only 2 of us on here, I can be on here all day with just 2 of us for free. And so anybody can create a webinar or a YouTube recording that can be sold. I mean, that is available to the masses. And even folks who are in challenged communities, they have one of these silly phones. They can use it too. Nobody's teaching them how to make money with it. And that's just not right.
No. It really isn't. The two populations that I think need the most help, because they're so close to my family.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those populations have their own strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that everybody has a good side and a sad side, but if you if you work and bring out the good side, the dark side tends to disappear,
Absolutely.
tends to
Absolutely.
go away.
Yep. Yep. We can always help people to transform their lives. And that's why it makes me mad that the system is designed to kind of keep them trapped there.
Yes.
And that's what you've been experiencing. That's what you've been seeing in your family. And I've seen it. I have absolutely seen it in too much of the community work that I have done. And that's why I'm choosing to build systems outside of the system. Another resource that you might not be aware of is there is a program called Wake Lifelong Learning. And anybody can apply to teach a class through Wake Lifelong Learning. Basically, it's a program of the Wake County school system. And if you have knowledge that you could be sharing with other people, you can apply with them to become one of their providers, one of their instructors. Basically, what they're trying to do is to fill up the high schools in the evening with people who pay to use the space. And so, just as an example, you could be creating some kind of a support class or something, or, teaching about navigating these systems that you've learned about the hard way for families who are dealing with substance abuse. And you could offer that class through Wake Lifelong Learning. And you get to choose how much you charge for it. Basically, what they do is once they've approved your class, and you tell them how much you want to charge for it, and they will publicize it through their magazine, through their website, through their social media for free. And all they do is tack on $25 per student to your price. And when you go to hold the class, people bring cash or check to you. They pay you directly. And then you just turn around and cut a check or give cash direct to the Wake County Public School System for $25 for each of those participants. And you keep the rest.
Wow.
Excuse me. Most people have no idea that anybody can become an instructor. You just have to be able to put together kind of a curriculum, submit it to the county. If they approve it, you're a teacher. And you can teach as often as you want to in the high schools. In the evening. It's adult education is what it is.
Yes, yes.
So, and yes, we'd love to be able to be doing some of that for free for people. And there are some families that need to have it for free. But for those that can pay for it, there's no shame in charging for it because, again, you've gone through a lot to learn all this. Mm-hmm. And, you're cutting down their learning time through your experience. So just know, those are the three things that we teach all of our apprentices. You have the ability to provide a service of some sort. And some people will decide their services that they're going to provide is, going out and doing landscaping or something like that. Some people like getting into, pet services, things of that nature. All of those things are fine. Those are all services that can be sold, and they can use some of that money, even if it's just a really small amount, to start setting aside to help somebody else. And, anybody can produce a knowledge product, whether it's an ebook, whether it's a paperback book, or whether it's some kind of class. Anybody can do that these days. And then adopt an existing product to sell, whether it's Legal Shield, whether it's health and wellness, whether it's our websites, because that's what I'm going to show y'all next week is the websites that we're using as a teaching tool. That anybody who comes through our program, we're going to set them up with at least 1 month of that website so they can see how to use it and be able to start using it. But quite honestly, we want them to start being able to earn some money so they can pay for that website, because that website can become the tool that allows them to start living their song and building their tribe and finding the other people to work with them, because that's a big part of that web page. So that's kind of the big part of it all. Uh-oh, my kids are after me this morning. My goodness, it's like, all right, we have a whole lot of things going on right now, which is a good thing. But anyway, so questions, comments?
Um, I'm good right now. I'll go over the slides after when you send them to me, or and to the recording and refresh. But
Absolutely. In fact, that's a good idea too, because yeah, the recording will be good for Dave so he can hear all the details. But I'm going to send that PowerPoint to both of you, so you actually have the PowerPoint to see. Given that this second recording, I mean, we still had some good information, we've had some good dialogue, but it's not the right PowerPoint. So you'll be able to see better the other one, because yeah, my computer just went. Hopefully I can get it to come back up and behave itself. I don't know. Some days you just wonder.
I know the feeling. Well,
but in general, I mean, does this conceptually make sense to you? Does it, you kind of get a feel for what we're teaching people?
It absolutely makes sense, and it clarifies a lot of the feeling that I've been having, that something is missing in our attempts to support the people that we see as needing support so badly. There's a lot of components that are not coming together, and those are the areas that can use our help.
It's true. It's true. And again, I'm not even going to try to speculate on some of the reasons why some of these things are not in the system. I truly believe the system was designed to control people rather than to allow them to be who they were designed to be. And I've told more than one person, I feel like we have, as a human race, we have been spiritually hijacked. And let's face it, if entrepreneurship was seriously a career track option in our high schools, I believe we'd have a lot less people in our prison system. Because a lot of these young people that end up in the prison system have a very natural skill set in sales and marketing. They just haven't been allowed to utilize it. And so they go to the streets and they learn it from the wrong people. So that really is an upsetting piece to the whole thing to me. And I do know people, in fact, my friend Dory Staley, who's a therapeutic drummer, she has talked about research that was done with gang members. And this goes back to something that you said. The research with gang members, which a lot of them tend to live in kind of an angry space, when they were able to engage them in creative activity, whether it was art, whether it was music, whether it was something else that, entrepreneurship is a creative activity. And when you could get them engaged in these creative activities where they started to utilize those skills and talents the creator gave them, their attitudes and their outlooks on life changed. And that's what my vision is for training up mentors to be part of this program, because we're the ones who need to go out here and help people to discover hope again. We need to help them be able to understand that God didn't make any junk. That's a phrase I used to see on t-shirts and stuff a lot. And it's true. He made us all to be creators with our own special gifts and talents. And our experiences, when you mix that in, now you have, every single one of us has the ability to be a value creator and to help other people through our creations. That's the reason for this program.
Oh, yes.
All right, my dear. Well, I think we're pretty close to the 2 hours after we get done with all our technical difficulties. So I'm going to pray that we all can make the technology work well for us next week. And because I do want to show you guys a lot more things online, because I want to show you this website that we're using as a tool to teach them. And I'm sure I'll have some other things to show you guys too. So it's much more next week is a little bit more about the hands-on, how we're doing some of these things. Because again, we can't with these communities just talk to them. We can't lecture, because most of them will space out, phase out, get bored, find something else to play with on their phones. They've got to be actively engaged. And so that's what our programs have been about. They have to be doing things to learn the sales and marketing, and do it hands-on with as little lecture as possible. So that's what we're going to be covering a whole lot more of next week. Okie doke.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Cheyenne.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you for being here, and I can't wait till our next meeting. So take care.